open them to Matthew chapter 5, verse number 13. Matthew chapter 5. We finished the Sermon on the Mount, or the Beatitudes, and we entitled that The Life of a Disciple, and we saw many things in that. This week we're going to start another kind of a short series, and this series is going to be entitled The Reason Disciples Are in the Earth. The Reason Disciples Are in the Earth. I'm reminded of when Jesus was beginning to lead his disciples, they were real concerned. But in this particular text we're looking at today, he, after explaining to them what their life is going to be like following him, he now begins to explain to them the reason for them being in the earth. And not only the reason for them there, but the effect that they will have on the earth. Many times we as believers don't believe we have any effect on anything. Say amen to that. We don't believe we have any effect on our families, and we know. And so as a result of that, since we don't believe we have any type of effect, we cease to be able to have, God ceases to have any effect on our surroundings through us. Say amen to that. So the idea then this morning is to find out why we are here in the earth. Why, God, why, some of our prayer been, just take me out, send me somewhere else. And let's make it personal. Why am I stuck in St. Pete? Want to leave and can't seem to go. And every time I go, I seem to be right back here again. Then some of us try to live in another city and work over here. I don't know. I just don't know what the deal is. Make the money over here and then take it over there. Why? Why am I? Say amen to that. It's important to understand, because God never does anything like on a whim or abruptly. Everything is strategically and not spiritually, but everything is strategically and infinitely planned according to his divine will. Say amen to that. Say it's planned. So where you are is no accident. Not to God. It might be unbelievable to you. But it's not an accident to God. So we're going to look at this one verse, Matthew chapter 5, verse number 13. Are you there? All right, read with me. 1, 2, 3, ready to read. Jesus says, ye are the salt of the earth. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But to be. Now, what appears to be one simple little verse is saying a whole lot. What appears to be one 3 little line verse is actually Jesus is saying a whole lot. He tells, because the first 12 verses about what they can expect in the world, what they're going to have to go through, what they're required to do, and there are promises attached to that. Now, the promises he's mentioned in those first verses we talked about, say amen to that. They are still in effect today. You can still operate in them. You still can receive them. Those promises have really nothing to do with what's about to be said now. Those promises are going to work in this exact verse in our lives. Amen to that. So he says in the first part of the text, he says, you are, he tells the disciples, you are the salt of the earth. You are the salt of the earth. You are the salt of the earth. He says, but if the salt has lost its savor or lost its ability to do what salt does, then how am I going to salt where you are? That's a question he asked. If you can't be what I want you to be, then what am I going to do with you? Say amen to that. See, we really don't understand that God, the plan that Jesus has for us is a lot bigger than we can actually see. Say amen to that. Matter of fact, if he were to really reveal the entire plan he has for your personal life, you get scared to death. Say amen to that. Some of us are already blown away, and he just kind of let us peek out of one eye, almost closed. I wish I had a witness. What you mean, walking by faith and doing this and turning the other cheek, all this kind of nonsense. Hey, it is what it is, and that's all it is. Amen? So he says, he tells them, he says, you are the salt. Look at the analogy of what he uses. You are the salt of the earth. It's only like 11 of them there. You are the salt, or you are the beginning You are what I'm going to use to change the complexion or the consistency or the atmosphere of this planet. I wish I had a witness. Any cooks in here? How many? Look, I ain't talking about no people who open boxes. I'm talking about folk who have to actually use salt and maybe pepper and some of that. You know, salt is a powerful agent. And I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but I do believe I need to. Salt is a powerful agent because a little of it does a lot. Say a minute that. For one reason, I've never seen salt any color but white. Say a minute that. I ain't seen no black salt, no black salt. I ain't seen no brown salt. All I've seen is white salt. I mean really white salt, not pale salt, white salt. Next thing I notice about salt, it's always in granules. Fine granules. And every time we use it, we scatter it over stuff. So a little bit of it cast a long way. So God tells these 12, with the salt, I'm going to take 12 of y'all and cast. See, you're a bad person and don't even know it. You are the salt. He says, you are the in salt. When we you ever notice when we sit down to eat, before we put a mouthful of food in our mouth, we putting salt on it. That's why a lot of us taking high blood pressure pills now. It's just automatic. We pick up the salt shaker and go to say, we haven't tasted to see if it needed salt. We haven't tasted to see if there's enough salt in it, you know. Some chefs get mad at you. Why you putting salt on that? That dish is perfect. Like it is. Not for me. I like a lot of salt. Say amen to that. But Jesus says, he says, you then are, for lack of a better word, you are the granules, which I am going to scatter in the earth. And you're going to do the same thing in the earth that salt does to your collard greens. You ever notice you put less salt in greens than the greens themselves? 3 bunches of greens cooking only need about a half a teaspoon, maybe less, of salt. Because salt has the ability to change the complexity of something 3 times, maybe 4 times its size. Whoa! So he plants these churches in the earth. See, you think just because you're the only one where you are, I'm outnumbered, I'm not going, no, you are salt. You are salt. You have the ability to change something 3 or 4 times bigger than you. Wow. You have the capacity to effect change in your environment, even though it's bigger than you, it maybe look mightier than you, because you are salt. But you weren't just dispensed out of any old shaker. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You were shaken out of Jesus. I thought y'all were going to clap on that. I really did. Say amen to that. And since I'm dispensed out of the salt shaker on God's table, that means wherever I'm scattered, I have the capacity to change and to effect change and to make change in something, around something that may be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times bigger than me, because where I came from is 10 times bigger than where I'm being put in. So he says, you are the salt of the earth. Then he asked the question, he said, but if the salt. Now, I can't remember my lifetime ever. I don't know what bad salt tastes like. I can imagine it. Well, I know today that when the process of salt, it does have a lot of preservatives in it for shelf life purposes. So in our lifetime, we don't know what raw salt really looks like. But there was a time before the preservatives that if salt stayed on the shelf an extended period of time, it would lose its ability to be salty. And I'm trying to figure out, what could you do with salt that ain't salty? Say amen to that. So he asked the question. He said, you're the salt of the earth, he says. But it's almost like I tell you what it's like. It's like Jesus looking down in the future. And he says, but if the salt have lost its savor or lost its ability to effect change, how am I going to make change where you are? If where I placed you, you are ineffective, how am I going to get where you are changed? So what are you talking about? What will cause salt not to be salty? Actually, what Jesus is talking about, he's talking about wickedness. Wickedness will render a believer ineffective. See? So when we participate in wickedness, when we participate in things that are not godly, we cease the ability to effect the kind of change God wants to effect. Say amen to that. That's why Jesus says Satan can't cast out Satan. So it is impossible. See, now for the church, that means, watch it, even for the times that we are living in the present, even the present time, our ability to be agents of change is going to be tested, being tested right now. For years, we've been sitting in these comfortable buildings, talking about praise Jesus and all this kind of stuff. And now it's going to be tested. We are going to be tested. We're going to see just how much you can be salty where you are when nobody likes you. We're going to find out. We're going to say I'm going to be tested. So he says, but if the salt has lost its savor, how is where I place you going to be changed? Then he says in the last part of his text, it is thenceforth what? Good for nothing but to be what? Cast out and to be what? Now, so we got to make some translations here. We got to make some application here. Say amen to that. Make some application. Anybody ever use cream in cooking? Heavy cream? You know, you see it on the cooking shows. So we're going to say like, we're going to make an analogy switch. We're going to use like heavy cream, and we're going to say the heavy cream, let's say the heavy cream is pretending to be salt. When you use heavy cream and put it in like roast beef gravy or some kind of roux, it thickens it. You see, because gravy is not gravy unless it's thick. Say amen to that. There's no such thing as watery gravy. So if you want gravy, you got to use some kind of thick cream to put in there to change the consistency or to change the environment that the meat is in. Now the milk, the cream, the heavy cream doesn't bother the meat. The heavy cream leaves the meat alone, but it goes directly to the roux and it makes the roux thick. So when you put it on rice, instead of it just running through, it covers the rice and it changes the taste of the rice because nobody likes dry rice. Say amen to that. But watch this. If the cream represents the salt, if I let my cream stay in the refrigerator too long, it will what we call sour. When cream's sour, it still looks like cream, but it's called buttermilk. Buttermilk can be used in bread batter, but buttermilk can be used in gravy. They look the same. They're the same color. But if you take sour cream and put it in gravy, you're going to have to, right? You're going to have to throw the gravy out and the meat. So that means now, watch this. So that means now a whole roast and a whole pot of gravy gonna miss your lips because you were waiting to consume that. How many people are gonna be missed because we are sour cream? How many people that God is waiting on to come into the kingdom are going to be missed because we have sat on the shelf so long we become sour? And he can't pour us in the stew Say amen to that. We render ourselves ineffective to draw somebody to Christ because we've let ourselves become stagnant. You ever go? While everything else is moving. I'm not going to wait until I come and get them and then put salt on them. I'm going to mix you in right with them. Yeah, just like I do salt in rice or salt in greens, whatever. Because if I mix you in, you're going to have the ability to effect that change while everything is coming up, while everything is simmering, while everything is boiling. Simmering that. He says, but if I throw you in the midst of the world and if you have been participated in wickedness and things that are not godly and things that are not pleasing in my sight, then you will be mixed in, but you won't effect any change. You see, for a number of years, watch this now, so the church then becomes an agent of change in the earth for God. That's why Corinth was placed in Corinth. That's why Ephesus was placed in Ephesus. That's why Colossians was placed in Colossians. All those churches were strategically placed, and none of them were placed in places that were already godly. You never put salt in already seasoned food. You always put it in unseasoned food to make the food, to change the consistency of the food. Say amen to that. So the idea then, he says, since we are the salt, the idea, what God expects for us is to make effective change in the surroundings we have been placed in. I wish I had a witness. Now, then he says, but if the salt is lost its savor, how is it going to be salt? What is it good for? Bad salt is just like bad milk. What is bad? Now, in the old days, when the milk was sour, my grandma knew how to take that thing and use it in biscuits and cornbread and buttermilk. Say amen to that. I wouldn't advise you to try to take spoiled milk now and convert it to buttermilk. Matter of fact, you very rarely see buttermilk in the store. We used to drink buttermilk with cornbread. Put it in a glass, crumble up some cornbread in it. Ooh, you can work that. But it would never work with regular milk, but it worked with buttermilk. And buttermilk is really nothing but cream gone bad. Say amen to that. Now, so he says in the text, he says, if the church then, by participating in wickedness, because you will become what you participate in. If you have become wicked because of association with wickedness, how I'm going to effect change where I've placed you, because wicked cannot overpower wicked. Wicked can be overpowered by unwickedness. Or righteousness. Say amen to that. Now, so he says, how then, he said, but if the salt has lost its ability, or lost its savor, or lost its ability to be salt, or lost its ability to effect change, how am I going to change where I placed you? Henceforth, a whole nother genre comes up. Remember in the beginning we talked about this, he says, and he being set went up to a mountain. And when his disciples came unto them, 12 disciples, came unto them, and he says, you are the mechanism by which I'm going to change this planet. 12 guys. You it. But if you start participating in the things where I placed you, then I would not have an agent at hand to make the change I want to make. Hence, watch this. God cannot do a thing on the planet unless I'm in line. Yeah. The only way God can glorify himself through me, I have to be in line with the program he's placed. See me that. Wow. There's three kind of people commentaries talks about. There's a wicked man, which is a bad man. Then he talks about a wicked believer, which is wicked. But you know what they say the worst wicked person is? A minister of the gospel. That's the worst of human beings on the planet. The absolute worst. And Christ says, when wickedness enters into the person I've placed to effect change, that person I cannot use to effect change. He says, but then, so what do you do? So now he makes the analogy, he moves from salt to people. What do you do with a wicked person? What's the penalty? Say, now, if you're one of his disciples, you're in the church, or you are the church, right? Either or. What do you do with a wicked person in the church? How many of us work on a job? What does your boss decide to do with a person who never come to work on time, never do what they told, never do what they asked, work one place, live another? What does a boss do with a person like who won't follow directions, who won't follow the rules, always complaining, calling sick 4 days out of 5 every week? What does your boss do with a person like that? And the answer is, I didn't hear it. Get rid of them, fire them, give them the pink slip. Then what's the remedy for a wicked person in the church that won't comply? Supposed to put them out. Ooh, I knew that look. I said, "Who do you mean? You can't put me out no church? You wicked?" You know what the difficulty in that is? Many times, those who are trying to put the wicked person out is just like them. That's why wicked people have a problem with getting put out, because you're trying to put me out, and you were doing the wickedness right with me. Only deal is I got caught, and now you want to try to... There's a passage of scripture in Corinthians where it talked about a young man who was going with his father's wife. Say amen to that. And they approached him on several occasions, told him to quit, and he wouldn't quit. And they wrote Paul, what would she do? Paul was like, it's kind of obvious to me. Turn him over to the devil and kick him out. You try to kick somebody out of the church, you'll be called the worst person in there. You know why? Because we've become accustomed to looking past wickedness. Now think about it. What would have happened in our city had the church not tolerated wickedness? Well, but God understands. The Lord knows their heart. We're supposed to be forgiving. We only be, you know when we are forgiving? When the person repents. Woo! Y'all should see the look on your face. Say amen to that. We've been, you know what? See, that's why in my world, I'm a disciple. In your world, you're a disciple. You know the word that arises from disciple? Discipline. There has to be discipline in my walk if I'm going to qualify to be salt. That's what's wrong with our world today. No discipline. Everybody is undisciplined. Children undisciplined, families undisciplined, husbands, wives, everybody is undisciplined, but everybody want to say praise Jesus. Say amen to that. Undisciplined folk cannot discipline undisciplined folk. Say amen to that. So this young man who was going, Paul says, I tell you what to do. Turn him over to the devil, put him out, turn him over to the devil. Maybe he'll change his mind. A few verses later, he got his act together, and he came back, they wrote him again. Paul says, if he's repented, and you can see the evidence that he's changed, let him back in. Let him back in, and don't hold it against him. How many times have you seen people who are wicked leave the church and come back right? So in this text, you don't qualify as salt if you have no saltiness. You don't qualify as a disciple if you are living wickedness or you're living in wickedness. Now, you know, we say this all the time. You know, now, I have to, first of all, keep my life in check. I wish I had a witness. Say amen to that. I have to keep my life in check. Many times, so goes the leader, so goes the body. Wickedness loves an environment where they can participate and feel comfortable in it because the leader is wicked. He doing it, I can do it. And Jesus looking right there, both of y'all through. See, that must say, anybody ever play football? There's a discipline. Basketball, discipline. Baseball, discipline. Any kind of sport, discipline. Any kind of occupation. The disciplined folk are the successful folk. The disciplined folk are the ones that achieve great success. And as a disciple, there must be discipline attached to our lives, or we render ourselves ineffective in the plan that Christ has to change the surroundings he's placed us in. We were talking in our early class this morning. Some of us are in St. Pete and want to leave. Why can't I get out of St. Pete? It's your placement. It's our placement. It's my placement. Yeah. So instead of maybe trying to get away from where I'm placed, become what I need to be to effect changes that I can survive in this place. It's quiet in here. Let me see where we're going. Let's see where we're going. He says that this salt, he says, if this salt has lost its ability, it is therefore, see now, so wicked people who call themselves disciples, who God cannot effect change through them, he says they are good for nothing. Now, that's a pretty strong order when you look at that text. Christ is saying a disciple who can't disciple, I don't have no use for. What do you mean, Jesus? You never taught. That's what I'm saying. I'm a disciple who can't effect change, that I can't effect change to, that disciple is no good to me. That disciple does not have any quality that I can use. That disciple is not going to be in my plan to make change where I placed him. Not if they're participating in wickedness, which will cause them to be unable to produce salt or to effect change. I wish I had a witness. Now watch it. Let me tell you something. Watch it. Timothy talks about women who want to change their husbands, right? He says something to the effect. I'm paraphrasing. If you want your husband to do right, let him see your conversation different. Conversation is not the way you talk to him, but how you live in front of him. Then he says, if you work it right, he'll be drawn by the way you live. See me in that? He ain't going to be drawn if you're cussing at him. He ain't going to be drawn if you're fussing at him. That's not salty. Help me, Lord. I'm crying out for help. I hear what you're saying, but a sister just needs some help right there. I wish I had a witness. Say amen to that. What is this lesson designed to do? Help me examine how I'm walking. I need to examine how I'm walking, right? Not as a disciple, but as one God has placed in the earth. Not as one who understands my position in God, but one who is being looked at by other folk. So, what else is saying? I got to take my eyes off of everyone else and get a mirror and start doing some research. Whoa! Say amen to that. I got to do some research. We are never at a point where we cannot stop looking in a mirror. Matter of fact, it's mirror kind of work that we need to do until we get out of here. So he says in the text, watch this. You gotta laugh at this. Y'all don't find this say amen to that. Watch it now. He says, so people of God who participate in wickedness are not good for God, or can God use them? Now watch it, watch it. You know what we sold ourselves out on? This is what we sold us. Say, I sold myself on this. I had let myself. No, do it like this. We have let ourselves be satisfied with just coming to the building. And we have pawned off coming to the building as being used.
All right, that's good.
But Jesus said, if salt lost its ability to be salt, what is it? What is it good for? He says, it's worth nothing but to be what? Cast out, thrown away, put out. See him into that. You ever been to a club you got put out of? Because you wouldn't pay your dues? You know that? You know not tithing is wicked? He is sent for good for nothing but to be cast out and do what? Do what? Trodden. Do what? He says wicked people should be put out of the church and they should be stepped on. Because God has told us the enemy is under our feet. But he can't be under our feet when we're in bed with him. Woo! Say amen to that. Now. With everything that has transpired in the last week, our saltiness is going to be tested to the max. I wish I had a witness. Our saltiness is going to be put on display. Our saltiness is going to be put on trial. Some things. It's already happening. It's already happening. People are saying things they wouldn't dare say. Writing things they wouldn't dare fight. Dare write. And God is saying for you and the church, be salt. Be salt. We are going to have probably the roughest ride the next 4 years we have ever had in the history of this country. And Jesus tells the church, be salt. I never see some, man, doing this past campaign, man, husband and wife squaring off in the house. What do you mean? I mean squaring off. Squaring off in the house, fighting. Really? We're going to let this thing that's crazy come in and wreck marriage, which is God's baby. Say amen to that. So he says, so he said, wicked people, watch it, let me show you something. Judas was wicked. Didn't have to be. Had every opportunity to change from wicked to righteousness. Got the evidence, bought the t-shirt, got the ticket to the game, had a 50-yard line seat, saw all the miracles, saw all the one. He had every opportunity to change. He see, disciples choose wickedness. Wickedness is not poured on you like something you can't disagree with. It's not poured on you like something you have to accept, can reject. You can reject anything you want, even God. Judas was wicked, and he refused to change his wicked ways. Now, and when he realized what he had done, still had an opportunity to change, but he chose suicide.
Yes, he did.
He let himself be walked on by men. Because he wasn't good for the kingdom. He had no value to the kingdom. Here, man, come on now. Judas was at the Sermon on the Mount, man. He'd been to every board meeting the church had. He done served in the choir. He'd been on the usher board. He was the president of 2. He was the armor bearer to the pastor. He worked in media. He did all those things. Yeah, but he wasn't salt. He had no ability to effect change. That's why he moved around to so many different spots. Now, so he says, good for henceforth good for none, but to be cast out and to be walked on. That has an idea of, right? When a disciple can't be used to effect change, the world automatically would disrespect them. Try no. Have a low opinion of them. Try no. Don't care nothing about them. Try no. Don't care what happens to them. That's try no. And that comes with the choice of choosing wickedness over righteousness. Many times we wonder why this ain't happening, why that ain't happening. God's supposed to do this and God's supposed to do. He asked us to do a couple of things. Anytime it's not going right, do the mirror check. So, watch this. Jesus then, as he's talking in this verse, he has an image of disciples in the earth. And that image is your salt. And an image is defined as what something appears to be like to someone looking at it. So Jesus is saying, I see you as salt. I see you as an agent of change. I see you. Now, whatever Jesus sees, that's what it is. Amen? So I see you as salt. That is why the enemy tries to bombard us with so much junk. He does not want me to see the image that Jesus has of me. Say amen to that. He always wants me to continue to see the image that I grew up with, or the image that whatever people did to me I have, or the image that what was done to me I have. He never wants me to go to the mirror and see past what was done wrong and see what God has done right. Because he knows if I see what God has done right, I'll tell him to get the heck out of here. I'll tell him to move on down the road. I wish I had a witness. He does not want me to see who God says I really am. He wants me to stay broke down, wants me to stay in that confused, not knowing, nervous condition, defeated, unhappy, unsuccessful, act no power, no reality of who I am in him. As long as he can keep me doing that, he is happy. And you know, most people in the church are like that because we fail to see. Now, this is not seeing with the natural eye. This is seeing through another eye. When you actually can look and see. So my grandmother used to sing a song. It says, look back and see where he brought me from. They used to sing an old song. He brought me over mountains and valleys. He brought me over field. And see what they're doing, they're reflecting on the transformation that they have gone through since they met God. But in my grandmother's case, it was literal. Mountains and valleys. Streams and floods. We ain't had a flood in our lives since then. The floods in our lives, we make ourselves. The valleys in our lives, we make ourselves. The majority of the trouble we have, it comes from being disobedient. I wish I had a way. Well, I'm got to wrap it up now because I see y'all got a lot on your mind. And y'all seem to be everywhere but in here. Maybe you're in here just like Pastor, you just dropped the bomb on me. Help me out now. Come on, help me out. Say amen to that. Say amen to that. Well, you see? Now, if you really want to be salt, say amen to that. Say amen to that. See, Jesus doesn't make anybody be salt. You have to want to be salt. Yeah, ain't no class on Jesus make me salt. I don't do make. I do volunteers. Now, if you volunteer, I will shake you out of my shaker. But I don't make nobody anything. I don't make nobody love me. I don't make nobody follow me. I don't make nobody do what I want to do. Everybody that works for me volunteers. And you volunteer not because I can make you salt, or not because I put you in my shaker, or because I covered you in my blood. You volunteer because you love me. And you want to do whatever it takes to please me. So that's the main thing on your agenda. You know, you sit on Jesus' table. Don't think you all that. You sit there because you love him. He uses you because you love him. He shakes you out because you love him. And if you love him, he can use you to effect change in the environment he has placed you in. So Christ has an image. The first image is salt. Of why? So that's why we are left here in St. Pete. That's why you tried to leave and can't. That's why you want to leave and couldn't. Say amen to that. You ever thought about that?
Yes, sir.
Maybe I'm going to stop trying to leave and change my consistency. After all, we got, I don't know how many people we have come and live here. You be like, I don't know why all these people come here, because they see something here you can't see. I don't like beaches. Hey, so what? I don't like all this sunshine. Hey, so what? I didn't put you there to change the beach. That's it. It does what I do, tell it to do because of my word. I didn't send you there to change the sun, because the sun rises and sets based on what I told it 1,000 years ago. When you can get with that program, you'll like the sun too. And you'll like the beaches, because you'll just know it's part of my surroundings where I effect change. All right? Put your hands together. Get the Lord a hand clap of praise. Say amen to that. This kind of stuff kind of mess with your head, don't it? I am so glad. You know why? Let me tell you something. Jesus, as he talks to his disciples in those first 12 verses, I'm thinking about this thing. Lord, what he says, Jesus demonstrated salt from the time he entered Jerusalem all the way to Galilee, all the way to the cross, all the way. He was an agent of change. Right? Really? I'm like, yeah. He said, yeah. I said, look how they treated my agent of change. Even when they thought they were killing him, he was effecting change. Somebody should have shouted on that. They messing with you a little bit. They talking about you a little bit. That has nothing to do with your ability to change. Actually, that goes with the program. Nobody likes a child of God unless they are a child of God. Say amen to that. So Jesus, here he is. He comes into Jerusalem. Everybody going, yeah. 10 days later, kill him. He's still just affecting change. Just moving right along, affecting change. Not worried about this. We're going to kill you. Not a problem. Go ahead and do it. 3 days later, I'm going to get up. Affecting change. See, the disciple is the disciple is so focused on the assignment and how to effectively navigate the assignment and how to complete the assignment and how to have the assignment win out that nothing else matters. You can't do a thing to me. You can't talk about me long enough to make me leave the church. They talked about me. You've been talked about all your life. And you done talked about everybody else all your life. And now because one day you feel a little emotional and somebody say something the wrong way or don't say good morning, you're going to leave the church. You are such a hypocrite. Say amen to that. We get home and run down the best of them. Then we get in and run with the best of them. And then that one day, when we done things right for 1 second, in that one day, somebody says something that's a little bit hurtful, I'm leaving the church. You forget 20 years of backbiting, 20 years of gossiping, 20 years of lying, 20 years of talking about people. One incident. Pastor didn't come to me right. Pastor didn't talk to me right. One incident, they done paid your light bill for 40 years, done paid your water for 40 years. One time he don't answer you right. One time he don't come to your rescue and you leave the church. We are such hypocrites. That means you just here for what you can get and nothing else. He done laid hands on you when you were sick and you got well. Now went to see your children, been in jail 900 times. You have let him down every time he's called on you. But he gets one opportunity. And because he didn't do what you wanted to do because it wasn't the right thing to do, you leaving the church. I'm leaving the church. Then you go out and badmouth him. He this and he that, she this, and just talk about him real bad. And nobody you're talking to say, well, what did he do? They just jump right on board with you. Yeah, child, I know. I heard this. I heard that. Yeah, child, I believe it because I was there for a minute. You were here. You walked in and visited one day and left. And the teaching was too real for you. And you really couldn't handle it. Because nobody ever challenged you like that before. Nobody ever called a spade with you. Nobody ever called you out. Nobody ever pointed you out. And you couldn't take that. So rather than change, you decided to talk about somebody. But Jesus, while on his way to Calvary, he stopped off for a minute, let him nail his hands. He stopped off and let him nail his feet. He stopped off and let him pierce him in the side. They needed an edge, y'all. He let him put a crown of thorns on his head and pierce his head. And his blood came streaming down. Even his blood was effecting change. Even his blood was washing away sin. Even his blood was washing away unrighteousness. They laid him in a borrowed tomb on his way to glory. 3 days he stayed there, but on the third day, it all come to a head. And the Bible declares that he rose, stepped out on resurrection ground, and declared, now all power is in my hand. Now watch it. Jesus is through making change in the earth. He ain't coming back here to make no change. He's already done that. He ain't coming back here to make no people righteous. He's already done that. He ain't come out here to get nobody saved. He's already done that. That's what we're for. He left us in the world to be used to effect the change, to get people saved, and he doesn't expect for us to be wicked and try to cure wickedness. Get ready, get ready, get ready. We're going to be tested. If it ain't already happened, get yourself ready. Don't go in the, oh, they said, get ready. Get ready, get ready. People going to say things they wouldn't dare say. They're going to look at you in a way they wouldn't dare look at you. You need to know who you are, whose you are, and where you come from, and most of all, where you're going. Say amen to that. Say amen to that. The life of the disciple is not supposed to be easy because of who you're connected to. Say amen to that. You think it was rough when you wasn't saved? You ain't seen rough. You ain't seen rough. There are people gonna be wanting to cut our throats, shoot us in the back. But you know what my comfort is? You can't touch me until God give the okay. What make you say that, Pastor? Because they couldn't touch Jesus until God said it's time to touch him. And when he let them touch me, that means it's my time to X-ray out of here and going on to glory. See, in glory, everybody talk right. See, in glory, everybody look at everybody and have a good feeling about it. And see, in glory, I escape all this foolishness that's in the world. I wish I had a witness. That's why disciples are left here. One image is salt. The next time we get together, we look at image number 2, light. The image that Jesus has of you and I needs to be the same image we have of ourselves. Because anything other than how he sees us is wicked. And God cannot use wickedness. Put your hands together. Give the Lord a mighty hand clap. Come on, give God